story of Jonah, the man who was swallowed by a whale. Imagine being completely alone. No light, no sound except for your own heart pounding in your chest. The air around you is thick, heavy, hard to breathe. Your body is trapped inside something alive, something massive. You feel it moving around you, but there's nowhere to run. It's dark, darker than the deepest night. Now, imagine this isn't a horror movie scene, but the reality of one man. A man who tried to run from his destiny. A man who was swallowed by the depths of the ocean. And there, in absolute darkness, he found the true light. This is the story of Jonah, a man who learned, the hard way, that no one can escape God's call. God's call. To understand what happened, we need to go back in time thousands of years ago. Back then, there was a city called Nineveh, a powerful metropolis full of riches, culture, and grandeur. Its palaces shone under the sun, its markets were lively, and its influence stretched far and wide. But something was wrong. The people of Nineveh had become corrupt. Greed controlled their leaders, injustice spread through the streets, and the worship of false gods had replaced faith in the Creator. It was a city on the brink of destruction. And then, God chose Jonah, a prophet, a man of faith, a messenger of truth. The command was clear. Go to Nineveh and warn them. Tell the people they need to change, to turn away from their sins before it's too late. And Jonah obeyed. He arrived in Nineveh, saw its greatness, walked through its streets, and spoke to the people. Repent. God is giving you one last chance. Leave your sins behind, turn back to him, or you will be destroyed. But the people of Nineveh laughed. Who are you to tell us what to do? They mocked him, ignored him, and went on with their lives as if nothing could touch them. Jonah insisted, trying to warn them in every way he could, but with each passing day his frustration grew. He started to question, why was I sent here? They'll never listen. I'm just one man. I can't change anything on my own. Overcome by anger and despair, Jonah did something unthinkable. He turned his back and walked away. The escape. Jonah traveled to a busy port. Ships came and went. Sailors loaded goods, and the salty smell of the sea filled the air. He saw a ship about to depart. Where's this ship going? He asked. Far away, they said. And that was all Jonah needed to hear. He paid for his passage and boarded. The ship set sail and Jonah felt an immediate relief. For the first time in a long time, he didn't have to think about Nineveh, his mission, or his frustration. But his relief didn't last long. The sky began to change. The bright blue turned into a dark, menacing gray. Heavy clouds formed. The wind picked up and the sea, once calm, began to rage, as if an unseen force was furious. Then, the storm came. Massive waves lifted the ship and slammed it down again like a toy. The rain hit like daggers and the thunder roared like a hungry beast. The sailors panicked. This isn't a normal storm. They tried to control the ship, but it was useless. So they cast lots to see who had brought this curse upon them. One by one, the names were eliminated until only one remained, Jonah. At that moment he knew. It was his fault. It was his escape that had provoked this fury. He had tried to run, but no one can run from the Creator. So, he made a decision. Throw me into the sea. The sailors hesitated. Throwing a man into the ocean was practically sentencing him to death, but the storm kept raging, and they had no choice. With heavy hearts, they picked up Jonah and threw him into the raging waters. Immediately, the sea calmed. The storm disappeared. Silence filled the air, but for Jonah, it was only the beginning. The belly of the whale. The cold cut through his skin like knives. He sank, spinning into the deep darkness. The world above faded and the silence of the ocean swallowed him whole. Then, something appeared. From the shadows of the abyss, a colossal creature moved toward him. A massive mouth opened wide and in one swift motion, swallowed Jonah whole. The darkness was complete. There was no way out. The air was heavy, and all he could hear was the echo of his own breathing. Surrounded by death, he realized his own weakness. He had tried to run from his responsibility. He had tried to escape God's call, but no one can run from God. His heart filled with regret. And then he cried out, La ilaha illa anta, subhanaka inni kuntu minaz zalimin. There is no God but you. Glory be to you. Truly I have been of the wrongdoers. He repeated it, once, twice, countless times. Days passed, but Jonah no longer felt fear. He had finally understood. His eyes saw nothing, but his soul was brighter than ever. And then, God answered. The whale rose from the depths. It swam to the shore and, in a single motion, spit Jonah out onto dry land. He opened his eyes, felt the sand beneath him and the sun warming his skin. He was alive, and he had been given a second chance. The return to Nineveh. This time, Jonah didn't hesitate. He got up and returned to Nineveh. But something had changed. This time, the people listened. This time, they saw the truth in his eyes. And one by one, they repented. The entire city abandoned their sins and turned back to God. And because of that, Nineveh was saved. The lesson of Jonah. This story isn't just about a prophet, it's about all of us. How many times do we run from our responsibilities? How many times do we ignore the signs? But Jonah teaches us something powerful. No matter how deep the abyss is, the light of hope always exists for those who sincerely turn to the Creator. If you enjoyed this story, make sure to like this video and subscribe for more content like this. And remember, not even the deepest darkness can erase the light of hope.